Demet, I'm going to hand over to you
Yes,
because I don't
I
want
can
to.
hear you.
Okay, I can see you now. Lovely. I don't want to lose connection. So thank you very much for joining us. And we're going to hand over you. You've got an impressive bio, which I would love to read out if you just give me a couple of minutes, just to put things in perspective. So yeah, you're a graduate of at the Middle East Technical University. You have a master's degree in international affairs from the Columbia University in New York. And you have been performing as the commercial counselor since January 2018. So a very warm welcome, and I'm going to hand over to you. Did we just lose her? Amina, I think we've
she's
lost
just trying to reconnect again.
Yeah,
even her mobile data is giving her a bit of a hassle.
and I think there's load shedding in Pretoria. Hey,
Oh, so possibly
I
that's
heard
why.
from clients earlier. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna see if we can get her back on. So maybe while we're waiting, there are quite a few of us on. Can we perhaps have some feedback? I won't ask you to put your cameras on, but maybe just some sharing about your interactions with Turkey so far and what you perhaps looking to get out of this seminar or this workshop today. Anyone? Okay, so look, our exports to Turkey, it dipped this year, but I mean, it was around $41.49 million. So clearly we're doing a lot of business with Turkey. And they are buying a hell of a lot of stuff from us. So I'm sure there are people on this group that have had interactions, if not have some knowledge. Has anyone imported from Turkey or exported or brought or exported to Turkey? No? I chatted to the guys at Trade and Investment KZN, and they have not had much interaction of late. So I was hoping to have some feedback there. And I guess with the borders opening up, there might be opportunities now. Okay, she's back on.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm very sorry. I don't know what the problem really is. Usually when there is some load shedding, this happens, the signal gets weakened, but normally during the day I had a very stable internet connection. This is just bad luck, I don't know.
That's fine. I'm going to hand over to you, and yeah, you take us through your presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks. First, let me extend my pleasure to be with you tonight, and I'm very happy to share these moments with you. Minara Chamber and its members has always, you know, been like a family to us. When we are here, we feel like we're from the family, and we feel very comfortable with you. So thanks again, making us so comfortable in South Africa. I will go to my presentation if you allow me, not to just lose time. Today, as we've agreed, I will touch up on business opportunities in Turkey. Is the slide on the screen?
I have this one.
Okay. Everybody is able to see it. Thank you very much. As we've discussed, I will talk about
Tek
business
nasip.
opportunities in
Yeah.
Turkey and
No,
challenges we're facing regarding COVID-19 all over the world. Turkey also faces some challenges. My presentation will focus on, firstly, Turkey's economy, the main economic indicators I will mention about. Then I will go through Turkey and South Africa's bilateral trade and economic relations. I will mention briefly about investment opportunities and incentives in Turkey. And lastly, I will touch upon COVID-19, its impacts in Turkey, Turkish economy, measures taken, and any opportunities that could exist at the moment. Turkey is situated in the middle of Europe, Asia, and Africa. We consider ourselves as a bridge, as a hub connecting all the continents around us. And we feel very fortunate to be in such a region. Istanbul itself divides Asia and Europe in two. We have a population of 83 million in Turkey, and our capital is Ankara. Although Istanbul is always more enjoyable and is the financial center, financial and economic hub of the country. When we look at the Turkish economy, the main economic indicators, we see that Turkey is, in nominal GDP terms, a $43.7 billion economy. In purchasing power parity terms, it's around $2 trillion. Its economic scope is around $2.2 trillion. GDP per capita in 2019 has been measured in nominal terms as $8,957. In purchasing power parity terms, it's around $29,000. In 2019, we've had, Turkish economy has been growing very strongly and was very resilient to economic crisis. But in some couple of years back, we're facing certain uncertainties due to global uncertainties and reductions in our major revenue items. Our GDP growth rate was constrained to 0.9% in 2019. I've also given the last 5 years GDP growth rates to give you some perspective, because in 2018 Turkey grew 2.8%. In 2007 we've had a record growth rate of 7.5%. So in the past, from 2013 to 2018, the annual average growth rate was around 5.5%. Exports in 2019 was realized as 171.1 billion US dollars, and there was an increase of 1.9% that year. Our imports has reached 207 billion US dollars in 2019. There was a contraction of 10%. Turkey is a very open economy. Its imports also contain intermediary goods that are used in manufacturing. So Turkey is also import dependent in its manufacturing activities. And it's a very open economy, and there are a lot of opportunities existing for South African exporters to take place in Turkish market as well. In terms of FDI inflows, Turkey in its region attracts is one of the major destinations for FDI. In 2019, the FDI inflows were 8.4 billion US dollars, and there was a stock of $165 billion FDI. And our FDI outflows reached 2.8 billion US dollars in 2019, and we have a stock of around 48 billion US dollars of FDI in other economies. Sorry, I cannot control the keyboard. Okay. If you look at the foreign trade structure, the trade flows with the global economy, you can see it. Turkey's exports have been improving gradually. And in 2019, our exports reached 171.1 billion US dollars. In the first 7 months of 2020, we have reached exports of 90 billion US dollars. In April and May, we've seen major contractions in our exports due to strict lockdown measures in our major export partners. But overall, the 7-month period, I think, is quite promising, because, I mean, there's only 8.7% contraction in our exports compared to 2019 first 7-month period. In terms of imports, the similar case happened. Indeed, our imports in 1%, and we've reached, in the first 7 months, 116.6 million US dollars of import levels. When we look at the foreign trade structure and major trading partners of Turkey, our major export destinations are Germany, UK, Italy, Iraq, United States of America, France, Spain, Netherlands, Israel, and Russian Federation. These are mostly in our immediate region, apart from USA. And with many of the countries, the European countries, we have the customs union with the EU, as you know. So those are our major destinations for exports as well. In terms of imports, Russian Federation comes the first. That's because of the energy imports of Turkey. Also China, Germany, US, Italy, India, France, Korea, and UK are major suppliers of Turkey. When we look at the products that we export and import, motor vehicle parts and accessories is the major item that we export. Machinery and mechanical appliances, iron and steel and their products, clothing and apparel, electrical machinery, equipment and appliances, precious stones and metals, the jewelry sector, mineral fuels and oils, plastics, edible fruits and nuts, and furniture are the major export sectors of Turkey. In terms of imports, we import mineral fuels and oils, machinery and mechanical appliances, electrical machinery and equipment, iron and steel, precious stones and metals, plastics, vehicles, organic chemicals, pharmaceutical products, optical, photographic, cinematographic, measuring, medical and surgical equipment. So these are the major items that opportunities exist in Turkish market. In terms of bilateral trade between Turkey and South Africa, I should first state that we find that existing trade volumes below the potential of these two countries, because both Turkey and South Africa are very similar in nature. And we are both G20 countries. Our industrial structures and consumer habits are similar. So we think that there is a lot of way that we can go further, and we can improve our trade relations to much better levels. In 2019, the total trade volume reached 1.3 billion US dollars. There was a contraction of 45% in our imports from the Republic of South Africa in that year. So that is the reason for the contraction in the trade volume as well. Turkey's exports increased by 6.6% in that year to 570 million US dollars. But we see a serious contraction in imports from Republic of South Africa. And I think that's something we need to work further on and improve the level of trade to its previous levels, I think. In 2019's first 7 months, these are trade statistics from the Turkish Statistics Office. So I should also note maybe that Turkish Statistics Office and SARS trade data does not always correspond. In SARS data, Turkey seems to be a net exporter in bilateral trade relations, but that is not the case in our in respect of our data. And that is, I think, mostly due to gold exports that is not recorded under the South African statistics. But in 2019, our exports contracted in the first 7 months around 13%. and our imports have contracted by 9.8%. The total trade volume in the first 7 months was 743 million US dollars. We look at the main export and import items between the two countries. We import from South Africa gold, centrifuges, bituminous coal, motor vehicles, iron, chromium, and similar ores and minerals, aluminium, iron and steel products, and these feed into our manufacturing processes. Our exports to South Africa focus on motor vehicles, parts and accessories, mineral fuel and oils, rubber, those are mostly automotive tires, carpets, sweets, copper wires, machinery and parts. When we, if I mention a little bit about the investment opportunities in Turkey and existing incentives, Turkey, as I mentioned in the very beginning, has a very favorable geographical location. It's at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa. It's a robust economy with very strong growth rates. The annual average growth rate, GDP growth rate for 2013-18 period was about 5.5%. It is a very dynamic, young, and entrepreneurial population. The population's average age is around 32. We have access to very large domestic and regional markets. Both Turkish consumers are very eager, and the Turkish domestic consumption market is very strong, but also we supply to nearby regional markets. The EU is the largest market that Turkish exports are directed to, but as well as that Russian Federation, Iraq, Middle East, Northern Africa is our natural market. We have also I should mention that we have a very strong and broad range of FTA networks. So those FTAs enable Turkish exporters to access markets with favorable customs duty rates, subject to customs duty rates, and so. However, unfortunately, we do not enjoy a privileged trade relationship with South Africa. We're hoping that maybe not in very short term, but in a medium to long term, we will be able to negotiate a free trade agreement with South Africa so that costs of market entry will be diminished for both sides, business people, and we will have much stronger presence in each other's markets with such facilitation of free trade agreements. Also, Turkey has a very skilled and cost competitive labor force. It's a very educated labor force, and the investors in Turkey are very happy about the engineering capacity and the quality of the workforce. Turkey implemented a continuous reform process to improve its business environment. We take our business communities, we use seriously into account, and working with them, try to improve the business environment, facilitate procedures, facilitate the tax environment, and improve the tax competitiveness of the country. Due to those reforms that have been continuously taken, Turkey in 2019 ranked in World Bank's Ease of Doing Business report as 43rd country, 43rd economy in terms of ease of doing business. We have a very liberal investment climate, and we offer national treatment to our foreign investors. They benefit from the same incentives, and they in every legal proceedings or any other issue in terms of law, they are provided national treatment, and they're on par with national investors. We have a very comprehensive investment incentive system. I've given you the link, and I will be sharing this presentation with you so that you can check the links.
At the national level, I can't account for what happened at the national level, but I can.
I think that's not a question. So the comprehensive investment incentive scheme focuses on both certain strategic sectors and also regional. It has a regional leg. in terms of the place that you're investing in, or in terms of the sectors you're investing in, you benefit from several investment incentives. They cover support measures, land allocations, and many other incentives that enable further investments in Turkey. As I said, you can reach further information about these through the link. Investment opportunities exist mainly in agri-food area. In COVID-19 process, in this crisis, we've seen that food security is very important. So the business, agro-food business, agro-processing business is going to be one of the rising sectors, as I believe. In addition to that, automotive is a very strong and resilient sector. It has been affected very much by the COVID crisis, because the sector is very interdependent, and the supply chain is linked all over the globe. So when one part fails, the whole sector is affected. Automotive has been one of the main sectors that we've seen major drops in manufacturing, but we still believe that there is there's a strong case for investments in automotive in this period as well, because the demand is quite high, and in Turkey, where at the time being, the prices of automobiles are so high that even second-hand automobiles sell at first-hand cars prices. Business services, the chemical sector, ICT sector, defense and aerospace, energy, especially renewable energy side, infrastructure, life sciences, health, and other areas, machinery sector, financial services, mining and metals, real estate, tourism are major sectors that investment opportunities abound in Turkey. I would also like to bring your attention to Invest in Turkey website that belongs to the Presidency's Investment Office, and they facilitate investments into Turkey. You can find in their website all necessary reports, procedural guidelines for establishing a business, including every step of establishing a business. And also in terms of real estate, maybe I should mention that we have a program that enables gaining Turkish citizenship through real estate investments in Turkey. There are certain conditions to it. Those guidelines also exist in this website as well. You can check that and reach further to us to get more information, detailed information about the issue. If I turn back to COVID-19, currently, as of yesterday, 21st of September 2020, we had additional 1,743 cases. The death toll for the day reached 68, unfortunately. We were conducting tests about 100,000 each day. So yesterday's test numbers, you can see, number of recovered patients yesterday has reached 1,200. From the beginning of the process, total number of tests reached 9,300,000. The total number of patients reached 304,610. In total, we had, unfortunately, 7,574 deaths in this process. The pneumonia rate in patients is 6.8%, and still there are 1,491 patients that are seriously ill. But we're glad that 268,000 people have recovered in this process. You can, from this source, Turkish Ministry of Health, reach daily reports about Turkish, the situation with regard to the COVID-19. The economic effects of the COVID-19 crisis have been very severe, as in all over the world, probably. We had lockdown measures in our key markets. So our key markets closed from the beginning of the year almost. and it took quite a while for containment of the pandemic and returning to a more normal. We call it a new normal. It's not normal yet, but still, I mean, eased restrictions in Europe especially took a little while. In that term, we had, as in the whole world, demand and supply side shocks. Closure of borders around the world has affected our tourism and travel sectors deeply. The Turkish Airlines was able to increase its cargo transportation shares in the world, but of course passenger transportation has come to a halt except for the repatriation flights that are organized. But the Turkish Airlines was really performed successfully in repatriation flights as well. Because Turkey had a very strong health infrastructure when this crisis happened, we were able to be more flexible and take targeted measures in Turkey. I cannot say that we have applied a very strict lockdown in Turkey. It has always been, we've never stopped. I mean, the business hasn't stopped in Turkey. There have been restrictions on movement of elderly and children to protect our elderly from the harms of the pandemic. There were, at the height of the pandemic in Turkey, there were intercity and weekend movement restrictions. There have been school holidays, so the children were getting their education through online channels. However, physical education has just recently, in September, in the last week, resumed. The work environment has changed, as in South Africa. People are still working in shifts, especially in the government sector. And working from home is a very viable method, has turned out to be a very viable method. Of course, for those that are office personnel and not hands-on manufacturing personnel. We've also taken facilitative measures for the continuation of international trade flows on the borders, especially with regard to road transport sector. We've enacted very clever measures to continue the road transportation and other transportation methods in a safe and secure manner. And in this period, we've seen in a reaction to the crisis, an increase in personal protective equipment production. So our textiles companies especially textiles companies, were very effective in changing their manufacturing capacities into channeling their manufacturing capacity into PPE production, especially mask productions and gowns, overalls, and all sort of hospital, let me say, clothing has increased quite a lot. We were able to produce high quality and complex ventilators in a very short span of time. 3 companies, Aselsan in the defense industry, Baykar as well, and Arçelik, which owns the DeFi company in South Africa, came together, and in just 14 days, they managed to produce the first machine. And it was, I mean, Turkey now is able to export its ventilators. They're high quality, as I said, and compatible with technical requirements and medical and health requirements as well. We've able to bring in new hospital and ICU bed capacity on board as well in this period. Turkey's ICU beds capacity, I mean, was around, the taken beds were around 66% or 70% at the height of the crisis. So in that term, I mean, because of the investments in health sector since 2002 and improvements in the health system has enabled us, as I said, to be more flexible and to take more targeted measures before halting the whole economy in this period. We've also provided incentives in the economy. Those are very similar around the world, I think, and in the measures, similar measures have been taken in South Africa as well. There have been tax breaks for the real sector. There have been liquidity injections into the financial system in terms of central bank rate cuts. Also, swap agreements with major central banks have been managed. For companies, there have been loan payment deferrals, and non-performing loan definition periods have been extended so that many companies fallen into the position of non-payment of their loans have been avoided. There have been credit guarantee funds to SMEs and larger corporations as well. This created increased ability to access credit for production activities. Also, the banks have been encouraged to extend credits to the private sector, to the real sector, so that the production activities can be continued. There have been employment benefits as well. The companies have been prevented from retrenching the workers unless the workers being involved in an activity that would require their retrenchment. But in this term, salary benefits and other benefits have been provided in order to ensure that no employees have been left unemployed. And also grants to low-income households have been provided. In total, around 280 billion Turkish lira, that's almost around 41 billion US dollars, have been extended have been provided through these incentives, let me say. And with the multiplier effect, we expect that this has reached around 600 billion Turkish lira. So those measures, those targeted measures also kept the business and the companies afloat in this process and enabled the economy to recover once the restrictions have been eased in our major markets. In the second quarter, of course, the economy has contracted. It was expected, but it contracted less than the expectations. The overall contraction in the economy has been 9.9%, but the current signs indicate that in the third quarter, we can expect a major rebound. In this period, we've seen increases in the activity in agriculture, information and communication sector, financial services, especially around 28% increase in that sector. And real estate activities have increased, but manufacturing has contracted around 16.5%. Construction activities contracted around 3%, and services, which have taken the major damage in this process globally, have contracted 25%. However, real sector confidence index, capacity utilization expectations, export order expectations by the private sector signal that I think a V-shaped economic recovery would be possible in the third quarter. Easing of lockdown restrictions, reopening of borders and international travel are important for the continuation of business activity, and we're seeing relaxations in these areas as well. The international flights are not resumed fully, but still with the ease of these restrictions, I think we're going to observe increased business activity, international business activity as well. Turkey is currently open to international travel, and international fairs have started to resume in the country. Major international trade fairs are going to be taking place around December, November. You can get further information around that through our office. And also, COVID-19 crisis reminded countries and the private sector the importance of diversification of supply chains and the ability to produce key products nationally. We've all seen the importance of national production capacity in personal protective equipment, for instance, pharmaceutical and medical products production, or hygiene products production. South Africa was also very fast and quick, thanks to its industrial base, to produce masks, personal protective equipment, hygiene products, medical products, its national ventilator here as well. And we're proud that DeFi, as Arçelik in Turkey, is major company, has engaged in ventilation production project in South Africa as well. That's one item that we're proud here. Supply chain diversification and regional and national production capacity is needed. We've seen that as well. We believe that Turkey, after this crisis, if it takes the right steps, may position itself as an alternative supplier in its major destinations, and it could become increasingly a manufacturing hub in its region. Infrastructure investments and increased manufacturing capacity in high-tech, value-added, and strategic sectors gain further importance in Turkey in this process. In such areas, possibilities for investments exist. We've seen all over the world e-commerce transactions picking up. This could actually lead to permanent consumer behavior change in the future, because e-commerce is very, comfortable. Once you get the benefits of it, it becomes, a daily activity. I used to use e-commerce channels for my shopping in Turkey, because I'm a working woman. I cannot go shopping all the time, so it's very convenient. So I think with e-commerce rising all over the world and in South Africa as well, related warehousing, transportation services, and the underlying software infrastructure will gain much more importance. This is an area that we see opportunities exist. We are actually trying to find channels for using e-commerce in international trade as well, but for now our understanding is that local companies are more advantageous in this process. The e-commerce platforms usually source their products locally, but there could be an opportunity for increasing international trade through e-commerce channels if necessary supply management can be organized as well. The easing of lockdown restrictions, reopening of borders and international travel will enable increased business activity. We are already receiving a lot of questions, inquiries from Turkish business people whether the South African airspace is open yet. And hopefully by the first week of October, we will be welcoming our business people again in South Africa. Turkey is, as I said, currently open to international travel. I think I've repeated this item. The online events and B2B meetings are also taken up in this period. Our major exporters associations are organizing online B2B events on a country basis, and we are seeing that business people are able to continue their relations through those channels. Thanks to Allah Almighty that we have these technical opportunities, possibilities with us, that we can continue our work even through online meetings, and we can get together and talk to each other. It's much easier. I finally, before finishing my presentation, would like to bring your attention to the online edition of Turkey Africa Business and Economy Forum. We will be organizing it on 8 to 9 October 2020. It will be an online event, a virtual event, but it will bring together African Union member countries, their ministers, their government associations, and also we will have B2B side of that event, where we will bring together major business people from our African partners. We will be making announcements about this further on. Please watch this space. The registrations have not started yet, but the website of the event, the link to it, you can find on the presentation as well. I thank you very much for listening to me. And I'll be glad to receive your questions as well. This is our office contact details, by the way. Whenever you need information, you have requests, you have business leads, please get in touch with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. There was a lot of information, and I'm very glad you will be sharing that with us. I think just for me, just a couple of points quickly before we opened up to questions. We have a few agreements that the DTI signed with Turkey, and it's mostly to boost trade and facilitate the movement of goods and tourism. So, you know, we have the double taxation agreements, and we have the trade and economic cooperation agreements, and then tourism. So I think you know where South Africa is from an economy point of view, our levels of unemployment. And a lot of the focus right now is to try and focus on building the local sector and upskilling and all of that. So I think from our perspective, I was just trying to understand what opportunities there would be, like the DeFi scenario, where they came together to help you create something. Would there be opportunities for Turkey to consider investing in South Africa? Which sectors would that be? Or even if South Africa considered, you know, when our borders opened up, considered investing with companies in Turkey for joint ventures, and what sectors would that be? I know there's a variety of things we import and we export to you, and we both building capacity. But what would be the key areas we could look at, or key sectors we could look at?
Definitely. I mean, there are various investment opportunities existing, and many Turkish companies also explore the South African market for investments as well. Let me also stop sharing my screen. It'll be more convenient for everyone, I think. DeFi is as you said, the most successful investment in South Africa. We, however, also have certain investments in iron and steel manufacturing, iron factory in Cape Town. We have subcontractors of DeFi investing in South Africa as well. So in Durban, for instance, we have a cable company supplying cables to Arçelik in Turkey. They've established themselves in South Africa as well. So DeFi brings in its suppliers, further investors into South Africa as well. In many manufacturing sectors, there could be opportunities. In textiles and clothing, in textile sector, there had been inquiries by our companies in South Africa, but when they compare the costs of production, they didn't up to this moment found it very profitable, I believe. So we haven't seen any textiles investments. It's usually an area that Turkey is very strong. In the near future, energy sector, the infrastructure, projects that are going to be taken up by the South African government could be major, areas of cooperation with Turkey and South Africa as well. There are energy companies already interested in South African market. With the rise in renewable energy, for instance, Turkey started to benefit from renewable energy and is trying to expand that sector in our own country. And we have started to manufacture certain critical items, for instance, solar panels, integrated solar panels, and so on in Turkey. So those experiences, I think, could be shared through joint ventures with South African companies once independent power producers in this area gets stronger in the market, and there is underlying conditions for the operation of those companies in South Africa. In infrastructure, Turkey is investing heavily in Africa, in construction especially. I mean, in road infrastructure, in stadiums, in railroads, railways, in hotels, airports. There are many projects that are taken up by by Turkish construction companies, and with the new, impetus to be given to the infrastructure area to, liven up the South African economy, Turkish companies, I think, could cooperate with South African counterparts. And because, I mean, many of the Turkish companies, many major companies doing worldwide businesses have also access to financing, their own financing abilities from international financial institutions. So they could also bring up their solutions if there are viable projects and partners to work with in South Africa. Apart from that, agro-processing, food processing could be an area of cooperation as well. But that I think, but one issue is that, and that is very relevant, of course, the conditions are very relevant to the history of South Africa. But as I mentioned, in Turkey, we provide national treatment to investors. So whenever there is an incentive system that is open to all investors, that is one thing that our investors do not get very much here, because, I mean, when they try to invest here, they want government to be supporting their activities. They would be able to benefit from incentives, but it's not very difficult, and I understand the historical background to it very well. But that is one thing that is a question mark in Turkish investors' minds. But once they see that there is a viable market, competitive market, that they can work profitably, I think they could bring about their own resources as well. So investing in South Africa, I think, is one of the major ways that we can increase trade and economic relations in Turkey. And we're hoping that in the future there will be more investors from Turkey to South Africa.
Thanks. Thank you for that. So I'm going to open up the floor and just ask if anyone has any questions that they'd like to pose. Demeter shared quite a lot of information with us in terms of sectors and possibilities. So there must be some questions that we have. I think from my perspective, I don't think the customs duties help much because they're quite high if you look at the textiles and the sectors that we're looking at. So that's probably going to pose one of your biggest challenges in getting product into South Africa and vice versa.
That is true, and that is why we are so willing to negotiate a free trade agreement with the South African government. As I said, we have a customs union with the European Union. One of the reasons that we request this free trade negotiations and free trade agreements between our countries is to eliminate the disadvantage coming out of, EU has a FTA free trade agreement with South Africa and the SACO region, SADC region, and we do not enjoy the same privileges, and that creates, what is it called? Trade diversion, because. And also the Turkish, exporters, Turkish manufacturers producing a very high quality products on par with EU standards are not able to enjoy market access conditions that our EU counterparts have been enjoying for quite some time. And that is, when they are trying to access the market, but facing these customs barriers, they also feel that they don't have opportunities in South African market. But they always, underline the point that whenever they feel comfortable and they feel that there is a market that exists for their products, and the first, stage to assure that is that you can export to that market. investments wouldn't follow. I mean, they need to see that there is a real market opportunity in this market, and that always, you know, follows exports. I think once they are strong in the market, once they feel confident, then they further invest in a market and start manufacturing operations, warehousing operations, or other operations that create employment in the country. So a free trade agreement would, I think, allow such, you know, assurances on our business people's part as well, and it would ease things to a greater extent, because when we, you know, inspect our FTA relations with FTA trade partners, we see a steady increase in trade relations. It's not always exports on Turkey's side, it's imports as well, but we are able to source those imports at a lower price, and that benefits our manufacturing operations as well. So that is always, I mean, an FTA always in the long term have welfare benefits for consumers and benefits for manufacturers and business people as well.
Okay. I know we have Zain, who's here from, just before we close up, from Mithas Travel. I don't know if you want to share something on the tourism side, Zain. I know I've caught you off guard, but that would have come from Amina, so.
Sure, I can trust Amina to catch me like that, eh? Yeah, from our side, we've seen a lot of travel to Turkey in 2019. Leisure travel, people wanting to visit the old city and stuff like that. Antalya is beautiful, Bodrum. So people are still asking for 2021 whether they can travel to Turkey and stuff like that. Already we're getting people asking for December and stuff. So I think as soon as the borders, well, the regulations surrounding the borders opening here in South Africa are clear, people will start traveling. Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, yesterday I've attended an event as an observer. Our ambassador, Mrs. Elif Çomoğlu-Ülgen, was presenting there. It was conducted by the South African side, South African tourism promotion bodies, with our Turkish Travel Agencies Association, and South Africa sees Turkey as a you know, destination market. I mean, not as a destination, but to promote South Africa as a destination in Turkey. So that activity focused on that. And yesterday I learned that in 2019 there have been 74,000 tourists from South Africa to Turkey, and there have been 14,000 Turkish citizens visiting South Africa. We wish to increase that number, and we wish that more Turkish people will be also able to visit South Africa, because whenever you have those people-to-people connections, when people come together, then the relations, both on political grounds, economic grounds, improves greatly. And Turkey is ready for travel, as South Africa is. There are precautions in the area concerning hotels, restaurants, accommodation places, travel sector. With regard to COVID containment measures and hygiene standards, Turkey is applying very high standards in its tourism industry throughout the chain. So the South African citizens could be very comfortable visiting Turkey. And we hope that more Turkish citizens will be coming and visiting and enjoying South Africa as we do here. And we're really wishing for further normalization. And that's, I mean, we are seeing signs that COVID cases are picking up around, you know, the Northern Hemisphere, in Europe, in certain countries. We all have to be vigilant. we all have to be, you know, obeying the social distancing rules, wearing our masks, and abiding by the hygiene protocols, not just to protect ourselves, but out of respect to our counterparts, the people that we are facing each day, to protect their lives as well. And with that, we can, you know, contain a fast resurgence of the pandemic, maybe. So we should be vigilant, but we shouldn't stop, you know, ourselves from seeing each other in physical terms as well. I'm just wishing for the day that the international travel will be open again.
Okay. Well, Demet, we thank you very much for your time. We thank you for making yourself available for the presentation, for making that available. And we wish you all the best. And I do think you will probably be interacting with quite a few people from here via the Menara Chamber. For those of you that have spent the time with us, please feel free to email Menara KZN at menara.co.za. I think you have Amina's contact details, and she'll share the information, but she will also link you up with Demet for any, you know, conversations that you want to have online or offline. So thank you, everybody. We wish you well. Please stay safe and enjoy your evening. Demet, thank you very much on behalf of the Chamber.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Thanks for providing me this opportunity. Good night.